it's corked. And they're testing, yes, I believe this one's corked. And I'm like, this one's my favorite. I don't even understand what's going on here. And there was this one guy that was there that was being heralded as this big wine expert, and they would refer to him. Well, cut to years later, that guy gets arrested, and he winds up doing 10 years in jail for making fake wine. And there's a documentary on it.
Whoa.
The documentary is called Sour Grapes. And it's an amazing documentary.
I've seen it pop up now. I've got to watch it.
It's very, very interesting because it plays on this very strange thing that people have to want the rarest, most unique thing. And what this guy did was he started buying wine. That was the first thing he did. He would go to these auctions. And, I don't know if you've ever seen any of those wine auctions, but they're super bizarre. Like, people are spending ungodly amounts of money on wine, like ancient bottles and very rare bottles. And so this guy's buying all this wine. So he is established as this connoisseur. And then what he's doing is he's going to his home and he's aging these labels and he's creating labels and he starts auctioning off. And I think, is it Sotheby's or Christie's? Someone's involved in this auction that kind of should know that this is bullshit. Like, they haven't checked. And so one man from one vineyard, who's this very famous family vineyard, sees bottles of his company's wine for sale. And he says, we never made a Magnum that year. We never made that bottle of wine. Like, that is not real. And that, was going for insane amounts of money. And so then they start doing an investigation. And they find out that this guy has made and sold thousands of bottles of fake old wine, including to the Koch brothers. And this is where he got fucked. This is where he sold the Koch brothers like millions of dollars worth of wine. And these guys are just super ballers with an unlimited amount of money. And they were buying like Lincoln's bottle of wine, like Thomas Jefferson's bottle, like that kind of crazy shit. And people are saying, nope, that's not even his handwriting. This is not real. So these guys they got duped. And so then they open the investigation and they find this guy's house and they find the bottles of wine. He was buying old bottles and recorking them and like making the labels dirty and doing all this different shit. But it's so interesting because one of the guys in the film is like, this was a bottle that he sold me was the legit. Because the guy was selling legit wine too. He's like, this one's legit. And they're drinking, you can tell. And this other guy comes on, let me try that? He's like, this is garbage. This wine's garbage. This is fake. It doesn't have the complexity. It doesn't have the robustness. It doesn't have the... And these other guys who are like also supposedly experts, they're like, I'm like, what are you guys tasting? What is going on here? Like, what is this weird thing that you're chasing that the difference is so subtle? It's not even the difference between Coke and Pepsi. It's so subtle. But yet it's the difference between a bottle of wine that's worth $50, $100, and 40,000. And no one knows. No one can tell. And this guy had, apparently, according to my friend, such a palate that he could experiment by taking these various much more inexpensive wines, combining them in very specific ratios, and recreate something that was very similar. And as long as you got it in this bottle, and as long as you looked at it and it's like, oh, is it Beaujolais Bourbon from 74? And you thought you were getting the real shit. And so then there's the placebo effect, right? You're tasting it and you're imagining it. This is rich, robust wine that very few people can appreciate. And then you're all appreciating this wine. Meanwhile, this guy's laughing his ass off because he made it in his fucking Century City house. I mean, he's like, it's fucking nuts.
He's got it in the bathtub.
Yeah, I mean, literally. See if you can get some clips out of that.
And there's a study, and it was conducted, I think, at a university in France that has a good wine department. The researchers, they got a bottle that, was scored really high and a bottle that was scored low. And they got this group of students, and without them knowing, they switched the labels. Right? So the bad bottle has the nice label on it, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And they, served it out and they had them talk about it and rate it and do all these things. And you know where I'm going with this. The students who think that the terrible bottle is good. They give it all this like, oh, it's got a deep blah blah blah. You know, they're using all the tannins and all the word salad. You know, and then with the bottle that was actually expensive and highly rated that they thought was bad, they yeah, this is cat piss, and so expectations often, to your point about the placebo effect, they shape how you experience something as well.
It's that world is so strange. Because the difference between a very good glass of wine and a good glass of wine is so big. I was with my friend Mark once. We were in Florida, and we were eating at this Italian restaurant. And it was a great restaurant. And I said, let's get a crazy bottle of wine. Let's get a fucking really nice bottle of wine. And I'd never had like $1,000 bottle of wine. So we bought this bottle of wine from, 1980 or whatever the fuck it was. And it wasn't that good. It was okay. It was okay.
Like,
yeah.
Whatever.
It was okay. And then I said, okay, let's flip it up because there's quite a few people at the table. I said, let's flip it up and let's get our next bottle. Let's get like a $90 bottle of wine. And we were both like, this is better. This one's better. Like this is, I don't know what I'm drinking. I don't know I just know what this tastes like nice wine.
Yeah.
Like, here's how this guy did this. So he would take these bottles and sit them in water, and he had all these labels and all these different things, and he would get bottles from like used bottles, like bottles of legitimate wine that he had already drank.
You're not shitting that he's literally doing this in some random apartment.
Oh yeah, he was doing it in his house. Yeah, I mean, look, he's got the windows taped up so
like
no one can see him doing it. He's got he's got aluminum foil on the windows like he's doing heroin in there.
It's like, you cooking meth in there?
Yeah.
No, man, I'm just pulling some labels off some old wine bottles.
So at the end of this documentary, they wind up destroying thousands of bottles of this wine, and it's really bonkers because he could have sold that wine for who knows how much money. And so see there, he's got all those labels that he had sitting there. That was the guy that got duped, and this is the guy that duped him. That guy with the glasses on, he was the one who was like, this one's a real one. And the other wine experts were like, bitch, this is fake as fuck.
Interesting.
And I don't even know how they know or if they really do know. I mean, I don't know anything about wine. I just say, what's a good wine?
Yeah.
When I go to a restaurant, pick one out for me. That's good.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Or I call my friend who is a legit expert, and I'll say, tell me a good, and he's usually right. I mean, he's always right. But what does that mean? What does it mean? I mean, am I going to notice a difference, especially 2 glasses in when you're eating a steak? No. As long as it doesn't taste terrible, it's a nice wine. I don't.
Yeah.